Hi, and welcome to LNA Does Audio Stuff. Hey, in today's video, I will tell you everything, like everything there is to know about wavetable, complex, but same time, very simple instrument in Ableton Live. Hey, also, this episode is sponsored by DistroKid. Thank you, DistroKid. They have a thing called Hyperfollow, and it's such a cool thing. So yesterday, I published a song called Breathe on my Spotify, and I used DistroKid to do it. I used Hyperfollow, and it's already been so successful thing for me to use. Hyperfollow, it's free, and it's very powerful promotional tool that you can use through DistroKid. So nowadays, it's almost like must to have a one link that leads on to your music on all streaming services, and that's where Hyperlink is super cool. So as soon as you have uploaded your songs into DistroKid, you get this one link called Hyperfollow, with which you can start marketing your music in your social medias. As soon as the day comes that your song goes live, then this hyperlink page updates automatically, and then you have all the different links to all the streaming services where your song can be found. And also, you can actually customize this hyperlink website as well, so that you have one page that will go to YouTube videos or Bandcamp or wherever you would like it to go. And also the link will never change, so it will always be the same, and that's like such an easy way of marketing your new release. You can find your Hyperfollow link on your DistroKid album page. Super easy. So easy. So everybody, go and check that out. Hey, let's get now into this tutorial to learn about wavetable. Wavetable. Okay, let's talk about wavetable. Let's just add it to the track first, shall we? So by the way, check out my new ski thing. Mouse screen thing. Ooh, and ooh. So we're gonna go first to the browser window, and from there, instruments, and then ooh, wavetable. We're gonna take that and add that to a MIDI track. All the basic features are super easy, but then it has a lot of features, like a lot. So I really hope this video is not gonna be like way too long. I'm gonna open it up from the triangle. Oh, check that out. From here. Ooh, that triangle. So the basic concept of wavetable, it's basically based on wavetable synthesis, is a collection of short looping samples that are arranged together. So we have a table of waves. So simple to say. So let's just start having a look at what we have in here. So firstly, we have two oscillators, oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and you can activate them from here. We have also a sub oscillator, which is on the left top corner here. This one. Filters, which are on the left lower corner in the actual device. And then we have this area here, which is the modulation matrix. I love the name. It's such a cool name. And then we have global controls over here. We have 3 envelopes here, and we have 2 LFOs here. And basically what happens is that we have sound that comes from oscillators, and then we use this modulation matrix to connect all these different effects and envelopes and LFOs and different kind of features together to create this very complex and beautiful sound. So let's break it down and go through all these features one by one. Let's get started. So let's have a look at the oscillators. If I press a keyboard now, what am I hear is a sine wave. And how do I know that? It's because look at the oscillator. One oscillator is activated and there is a sine wave. If I go to this control here, I can select a square wave. The basic controls, we have volume control on the left here, as well on the top of it, we have a control for panning. On the top of the oscillator, you can see these 2 drop-down menus. The first one is wavetable category. We have the wavetables from the categories that are here. So let's say, example, we could go to distortion, and then from here, which is the wavetable category, and then let's choose a wavetable from the category called freak. And this is how it looks, and it looks so beautiful. So on the right side of it, you can see these two arrows. So with these two arrows, you can actually go and select the wavetables that you would like to try out. So it allows you to kind of like work through the different wavetables and choose one. And again, when you're choosing one, go around and using this select on the right or with the mouse to figure out which wavetable is the most like the best for you. Oscillator 2, exactly the same situation, but on the top right corner, you have these two symbols. They are the different visualizations of wavetable. So we are now currently in a linear visualization where you can see a sound going from the left to the right. It arranges the waves from the bottom to top. On the other visualization, we can see a polar visualization. It displays the samples as loops. The sound goes from inside to outside, running clockwise. So whatever floats your boat in that one. Also, what we can actually do is add our own samples into wavetable, which makes it even more interesting to us. So let's just choose a sample from the sample library, and I just go on the top of the the oscillator 1 example, and I just drop the sample there. And what's happened is now the sample that I just put called kitsch, whatever, is now on here. And it sounds like this. Like that. When you add your own sample, there's an extra button that appears called raw. So without the raw, it actually processes the sample so that there's no unwanted artifacts there. So you can see how the process actually changes the waves. But if you do want to have it more like with the artifacts that were originally there, just click the raw. On the bottom of the oscillators, you can see here are some effects. They are oscillator effects. Woo! So we could go from the drop-down menu and you see in options, you see FM, classic, and modern. So let's try the FM. So tune and amount, and whoa, check that out when I change the amount example. These controls can detune and you can change the pitch of the oscillator. Then let's have a look at the sub oscillator on the top left corner. So let's activate that, and we have gain, tone, and octave. So pretty self-explanatory options for the controls, as well as we have a transpose control on the bottom there. Without, with, without, with. So tone, which is the sound timbre, F0 is a pure sine wave. If you turn it up, it will add harmonic character to the sound. Sounds so good. Okay, so let's move on. So the next thing we have is the filter. So these filters are very cool. So what we have in here is filter 1 and then filter 2, which is now deactivated. So we can activate it from these buttons here or there. We have the basic filter styles: low pass, high pass, band pass, notch, and then we have morph. And then with morph, you get also the extra control here. With morph, you can create these very cool sweep effects, actually. I could actually just show that now. So example, if I put filter morph on the matrix, and I play something. Can you see the filter just changing? And if I don't have it in the matrix, that's all no movement. So I will explain the matrix just in a minute, but morph using that is just so cool. Yeah, we can change the frequency, the resonance, the both frequency or resonance on the filter 2 as well. We have the same options here. We have controls for 12 and 24 notch, dB notch, there we go. And then we have these different filter style options here. These analog modeled circuits actually emulates, I still can't say that, hardware filters that have been found in really like famous synthesizers. So they're really fun. And yes, also, by the way, there is this gray little button that you might not see straight away. And there's a couple options. So there's serial, parallel, and split. So that area actually refers to filter routing, because there's 3 different ways of actually routing the filters. I wrote these down because they're slightly complicated. So serial, which is the first one here. Serial routes all the oscillators into filter 1. So all the oscillators, oscillator 1, oscillator 2, sub-oscillator, into filter 1. Routes filter 1 into filter 2, which is this filter goes to that one, and sub is for both filters. So yeah. Sub is for both of the filters then. Parallel, which is the next one here. So parallel routes 2 main oscillators into filter 1 and filter 2. Sub is to the both filters. Split oscillator, which is the last one. So we have split option there. Oscillator 1 to filter 1. So oscillator 1 goes to filter 1 and oscillator 2 goes to filter 2. And sub is split half and both filters. And that's jazz. So next thing, matrix tab, modulation tab. Matrix is basically this area that we can connect all these pieces together that they are affecting each other. We can also connect that to MIDI controllers, which are the green area here. So when we are MIDI mapping any of these controls to your MIDI controller, then you can actually make this whole instrument work so much bigger in your live performance. So it becomes this master thing. So we have on the left, we have the modulation targets. On the top here, we have the modulation sources. So anyone who has ever played like, battleship game where you sync the person's battleship, it kind of works the same way, that you need to find a number and an A and then connect them. So let's say I want to connect this envelope 3 to this oscillator. Stay with me. This is going to be fun. Okay, so we go envelope 3, oscillator 1 here, which is the oscillator 1 position, which means this. You can make the value of these crossroads either positive, which is 100, or negative, which is minus 100. So let's just look what the difference is. I put the 100. You see the movement on the oscillator, and it kind of goes to the top and it lowers down. So let's put a negative 100. So the movement kind of lowers into the bottom of the oscillator, and it kind of stays there. With these values, you can control exactly the type of movement you would like to add to this instrument. So I can do the same with LFO1 example. I can add a square wave example to the oscillator here. I can add the little bit faster rate there. And then I go LFO1, LFO oscillator 1 position again, so same place, and depends where you want to go positive or negative, it doesn't matter, whatever floats your boat. So that is the square wave now affecting the oscillator 1 position. How do we add if we want to add more of the modulation targets? So now if I go to the tone on the sub, look at the matrix when I click it now. Ooh, I started changing it, and suddenly in the matrix you can see now sub tone. Well, great. So let's just connect that to the LFO example because it's going with a square wave as we see here. Let's connect that. And as soon as I change a value even slightly here, it will stay in the matrix. So if I don't change any of the values, so let's try something else like envelope, like the attack, you know, if I don't change anything there and I press something else, then this modulation target will change to something else. Let's just have a look at this. Also time control and there's an amount control. So it's the times of all modulations that are working. So example, if I put that in 100, like that, so you can see that now in the modulation matrix there is time. Basically what it means that when the time is very positive, so example 100, the modulation is slower, and when it's in a negative, so example minus 100, it is gonna be very fast modulation. So -1 is gonna be much faster. 100 is gonna be much slower, as you can see here. Amount here, it's the overall amount for all the modulations in the actual modulation matrix. I'm still gonna go a couple more things, which is the envelopes, and we have LFOs. So they work exactly the same way as any type of envelope or any type of LFO. So some of the functions would be, they're kind of like very familiar things. So I'm not gonna talk too much of the different controls. So example, we have the envelope of the amp. So you can of course go to the actual envelope and just move from these actual little breakpoints. But what you can also do is go to here into these controls and use them also, the ADSR normal envelope controls, and like this, so you can see it visualizing it. There's some extra controls in there. So slope example, you can make this slope. So this will affect also how the envelope is working. But also in envelope 2 and envelope 3, there are another thing called value. So example, the initial value, check that out. You can put that all the way up there, or the final value you can put like up there. On the top right corner here, you see a drop-down menu. And there we have loop modes. Here we have none, trigger, and loop. None, it sustains the envelope, but it doesn't loop it. Trigger means that it will play all the segments once. And we're now talking not about the sample, but the envelope, right? Loop will loop the envelope. No. Without holding the sustain until the voice ends. And then we have LFOs. LFO. We have the sound waves. We have the rate. You can choose if it's gonna be hertz or if it's gonna be synced. So as soon as I go to the synced, I can example choose the rate of a time division from here, or hertz. So you can change it from the top here. And then we have amount, which is amount of the wave shape. We can modify the shape from here, and we can change the offset, which is to do with phasing. And then we have this cool 2 here, which is the attack of the LFO here. And then we have a LFO retrigger control here, which is the LFO resetting in every single new MIDI note. And then finally, we have the global controls. Over here, we can change the song to polyphonic or monophonic. If it's in a monophonic, it means that you can only hear one voice at a time. Because when it's polyphonic, you can hear many different voices same time. And you can example put 3. On a monophonic, you have, instead of the voices being active, you have this glide section active. Legato. How fast is the legato? Legato. What? Wow, why am I saying like that? Legato between the changes of a note. So unison note modes, if you click from that, you see these different options. And basically what they mean is that uses multiple oscillator with different phases, stereo locators, or wavetable positions. So let's have a try like phase sync example. So I can put noise, position, voice is basically how many simultaneously running oscillators do we have. The amount is the intensity of the unison mode here. So that's everything about Wavetable. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much DistroKit for sponsoring this video, and go and check out their page as well as Hyperfollow, because I use it and it's pretty cool. And usually in the end of my videos I do a Q&A section. This week I'm not gonna do it because this video is just way too long, so please. So I post every single Sunday. See you next Sunday here on my channel for more Ableton live content or other music production content generally. Okay, bye.